Time for our weekly In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. I'm Tom Leach, along with Jim Goodman, the director of Simulcasting for Keeneland, who had a good weekend last weekend. We gave out the horses that we like for the stake at Santa Anita, and I liked a long shot, Majestic Harbor, and Jim liked Blue Skies and Rainbows. Jim had the winner. My horse ran second at a big price, and it was a three-figure exacta, a little over $100, right?
It was, and I had it a few times myself.
Good for
I had
you.
the trifecta, so I actually put you helped me out because I gave you the 5-2 shot, and you gave me the 17-1 shot. What a deal!
That's if you can get one of those a weekend, you can make up for a lot of losses. I had a couple of other winners, but they didn't pay much. Summerfront and Midnight Hawk, who was very impressive in his win, so maybe a live Derby prospect to follow. Well, let's get to this week's races. A lot of stakes races around the country. It's Sunshine Millions Day down at Gulfstream. We're not going to hit all of them. We've picked out 3 of them to focus on. The first one is the 5th race, the Distaff, fillies and mares 4 and up at a mile and an 1/8. And where did you land here?
Well, I landed on Devil's Cave, and then I got off Devil's Cave because I went back and looked at the back class from Toasting, and I think that's a good spot for Albertroni's horse, and she actually, if you see who she's been running against, she lost to Close Hatches, she lost to 50 Shades of Hay as a 3-year-old. So I think that she's the class of the race. Nearly won the Grade 3 Comely last year. It lasted out at 32-1. Ortiz comes in to ride. The other horse, Devil's Cave, Marty Wolfson is one of my favorite trainers, and he picks up Rosario, one of my favorite riders, and I went to him first, but I think Toasting may be a little much for Devil's Cave to bite off right now.
I, like you, started on Devil's Cave and changed, and I ended up actually going to a horse that she beat last time, Sweet and Discreet. A lot of times I've seen horses, these speed horses that stretch out for the first time, moves them up. And this horse was drawn outside of Devil's Cave last time and chased a hot pace. Now is drawn inside, and I think she may get a little tactical advantage there and take them wire to wire. So I'm going to take Pletcher for a bit of an upset and Sweet and Discreet, and then I would use her with Devil's Cave, with Toasting, and also with the other Marty Wolfson horse, My Pal Chrissy. 8th race, we want to take a look at that one, Sunshine Millions Turf, 4-year-olds and up at a mile and an 1/8 on the grass course. And I had a hard time choosing between Star Channel and Tune Me In, and I ended up going with Star Channel. Switches to Eddie Keneally, I think it's a positive switch. Picks up Lescano, which strengthened the case, and then this one is 2 for 3 at Gulfstream on their turf course. So I went that way, but Tune Me In for Clement wouldn't surprise me. I think if I'm using horizontal wagers, I'd use both of those, but Star Channel's the pick, and single or key him in exactas with Tune Me In, the 6, the 7 Bad Dad, and the 1 Tiz Gianni for a little bit of a price that I think could hit the board. What about you?
I was between Tune Me In and Star Channel, and I got off after watching Gulfstream this week. The turf course is favoring speed. That's not unusual for Gulfstream because the turf course is usually tight turns or whatever it is, but Lone Speed does well on the turf course. I'm thinking Bad Debt might get an easy lead here. I think Rosario sees this horse I think he can press the pace, but I think he may have a shot to get the lead, and I think that gives him an advantage over Star Channel and Tune Me In. I think he's a little bit quicker than Tune Me In. If I had to take a second choice, though, it would be Tune Me In simply because the track has been favoring speed. Star Channel needs that contested pace, so if Bad Debt and Tune Me In, if our choices go at each other, it sets up well for Star Channel. So take a look at how the turf course is playing, especially Friday before this race on Saturday.
10th race, Sunshine Millions Classic at a mile and an 1/8, and I couldn't make a case to go against Mucho Macho Man. I think he just looks too good for this group. Has 6 works since taking a month off after the Breeders' Cup win, so looks, I would think, should be fit enough, certainly. And I'd try Bernie the Maestro with him maybe for an exact. I could see him bouncing back second off a layoff, which is a good angle for Maker, but can't see him beating Mucho Macho Man. Can you?
I can't see anybody beating Mucho Macho Man. I was between Bernie the Maestro and Gourmet Dinner, and I think that's a very easy choice. If you pick those 2 horses and which one you like better, key him an exacta behind Mucho Macho Man, and you might make $4 because this is not a great betting race. Looks like a free square in the pick 4. But Mucho Macho Man, everybody's looking forward to him coming back off that great Breeders' Cup Classic win. So it'll be a nice little paid workout for him, I would think.
Let's go to the fairgrounds. Stakes race on the sixth race is a stakes race. The Grade 3 Colonel E.R. Bradley on the turf at a mile on the 16th for 4-year-olds and up. You got Daddy Knows Best, who was a nice winner last time. You going with him?
I was not convinced with Daddy Knows Best last time, but I'm convinced after going back and watching that race. Broke almost last and closed down the stretch and just won pretty easily. They interviewed Bob Zollers, the owner, after that race, and he basically was bursting at the seams with pride, and he said, we're going to take some bigger shots down the road. We really like the way this horse is coming around. So I think Daddy Knows Best is maturing at the right time, and I'm going to take him on top with Speaking of Which, who has the back class, Christophe Clement, Sean Bridgemahan, a lot of reasons to bet him. And String King is 4 for 8 fairgrounds, back on the turf. He ran second to Optimizer in this race last year, and that's not a bad second. So Daddy Knows Best over Speaking of Which and String King.
I'm going to try to upset Daddy Knows Best with Zenji, a European invader who ran in a couple of Group 1s overseas, gets Lasix and trainers, does well with new acquisitions. So just take a little shot there. Probably best bet's a 3-horse exacta box for me with Zenji, Daddy Knows Best, and Speaking of Which. A 7th race is the Silverbulletday for 3-year-old fillies at a mile and 70 yards. This one's ungraded, and I saw it as a 2-horse race. A couple of real impressive winners. Unbridled Forever won at Churchill, breaking her maiden. Divine Beauty won last time out. I think you called that one for Governor Jones. And Divine Beauty's got a little more experience, has run once against winners. Unbridled Forever, maybe a little better pedigree for 2 turns. I ended up taking Unbridled Forever, thinking they might get a little better price, but I'd box those two basically. What about you?
And I went up taking the other one. I bet Divine Beauty last time, and when Brereton keeps a horse and gives it to Larry Jones, you can say it's pretty good. And this filly is really good right now. The one thing that concerns me about both of them is the big buyer jump from 61 to 92 for Divine Beauty and from 60 to 96 for Unbridled Forever. You always worry about that bounce, and if I saw somebody else in here to take, I would, because that's a huge jump for those horses. But they're 3-year-old fillies with only 2 starts, so they got so much upside. The one I'd say in here that might be just a shot in the dark is Stanford for Michael Stidham. Never been on the dirt before, a couple of turf races and a polytrack race at Arlington, but seems to be coming into the race well, and if both of them bounce, I would go with that horse at a price, but Divine Beauty over Unbridled Forever for me.
9th race is the Grade 3 Lecomte, leading up to the Louisiana Derby. It's for 3-year-olds at a mile and 70. I ended up going to the horse on the inside, Roman Unbridled. Huge improvement last time at Delta, and I'm usually skeptical of horses that make have a big buyer like that when they go wire to wire, but thought this looked like it had a chance of being legit, and if it is, then this horse is as good as the others in here. I thought that was a good field that he beat. Duncan Bend was second, and I think the price will be better than you should get if he turns out to be as good as his last race looked, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take a shot with Roman Unbridled, key him with Gold Hawk, who was where I was leaning to begin with, Albano, and Plug Catcher. What about you?
What I'm hoping is people look at this race and they look at Roman Unbridled winning by 9, and they look at Vickers in Trouble winning by 13, and they bet those 2 horses, because I'm exactly like you. I'm concerned about horses that win by a wide margin, and I do think Roman Unbridled fits here. But I took Gold Hawk. Asmussen has brought this horse along slowly. Didn't debut until November 30th, and he won for fun that day. He won for fun on December 27th at Fairgrounds, and got a lot of upside. And I think Gold Hawk may wind up being one of Asmussen's Triple Crown contenders before it's all done. So I'm going to take him on top with Roman Unbridled and Vickers in Trouble.
And we will end up at Santa Anita with a Grade 2 Strub. It shortened this year from a mile and an eighth to a mile and a 16th. 4-year-olds, straight 4-year-olds going here. It's leading up to the Santa Anita Handicap. And this is a pretty good matchup. Where did you go?
You got to figure out the pace in this race, and the 2 best horses for me are Z-Watt and Shaking It Up, but they're both closers. Santa Anita might favor a little speed, and I'm thinking that Arab Storm might just get the lead by default, because I can't really see anybody in here other than Rookie Sensation, and that speed's been on the turf and on poly, never has run on dirt. So I'm thinking that maybe Air of Storm gets an easy lead. You go back to the November 1st race at Santa Anita, a 7-furlong race. They put him in the Malibu last out, and he really didn't run, had a tough trip. But I think he may get the lead here, and I'm going to take a little bit of a price with Air of Storm over the two obvious favorites, Z Watt and Shaking It Up.
I was between Hear the Ghost and Shaking It Up, and finally settled on Shaking It Up. I really love that last race in the Malibu off the long layoff for Baffert. And he's stretching out from 7 furlongs, but Midnight Loot Offspring, even though he was a sprinter, have done well stretching out. And I think he can handle that, certainly. And, I think that last race, I tend to think that was legit. So at 106 Beyer, if he runs back to that, I don't know if they'll beat him. Don't know if he can get back to that, but if he does, I think he gets it. Hear the Ghost I would use with him. Governor Charlie, coming off a long layoff, could be dangerous. And Rookie Sensation I'd also use, and kind of took a stand against Z-Watt. It was leery of both him and shaking it up a little bit on the distance. So Z-Watt would be a low price. I thought I'd toss him and kind of key on the others, but shaking it up is the pick for me. Best of luck this week with all your wagers, and we'll be back here next week with the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.